Hi, I'm Carlin, and you're watching Better Batter Baking. Today, my co-star Nicci will be going up against our state representative, Kate Hogan. Kate Hogan is the Massachusetts state representative for the 3rd Middlesex District that includes the towns of Stowe, Maynard, and Bolton and Hudson. Welcome, Kate, and let's start baking.
First, we need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. And now we can start baking.
So, what will you be making, Nicci?
Just a plain chocolate cake that I will decorate with a lion fondant. Or it's not lion fondant, but the fondant's yellow, so it will look like a lion.
And what are we baking?
Okay, so Kate and I will be baking a chocolate brownie cake, and I will be assisting her throughout the entire
Yes, she
baking
will,
process.
very much so.
So to start, I'm going to add my 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. And I'll be mixing that with my 3/4 cups of cocoa powder. Look at
She's pulling it up. This is flour.
All right, so first we need to grease an 8-inch pan, and then we need to dust it with flour. So
Okay.
we're actually going to be making a heart-size shaped cake, so we are going to be doubling the recipe. So we need to grease these. I'm going to get the
Okay.
butter.
While they're doing that, I'm going to add my 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda.
How do we want to do this? Just cut the piece?
Yeah, just
And then I'm going to add my 2 cups of white sugar.
Go. So all you do is cut. Oh, you're saying take this and use it as a stick. Okay.
yeah, there we go.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to add the last of my dry ingredients, which is my 1 teaspoon of salt.
So right off the bat, Kate and I's recipe will get a little bit difficult. We need to cook some stuff in a saucepan to get it melted. So I'm going to grab our saucepan. All right, so looks like Kate finished buttering those.
Yes.
All right, so now we need to put this on medium heat.
So while they're doing that, I'm going to start adding my wet ingredients. So I need a cup of milk,
Can I grab something? Should I grab something to put in there?
So we're going to measure our butter. So we need a 1/2 cup for the regular recipe, but since we will be doubling, we need a full cup of butter.
Okay.
So I'm going to start mixing my wet ingredients in this small bowl here.
Tablespoons.
And then I also need 2 eggs.
We have had an incident with our egg.
Your egg with my egg.
Nicci's egg. It has sadly fallen and it cannot get up, and we will not get it back. So we have to find a solution and get another egg.
Two.
So I have closer to 1 1/2 eggs here, but I'm just going to have to deal with it.
There we go.
All right, and while Kate is measuring those, I'm going to measure out our maple syrup that we need to put in as well. We need 2 tablespoons since we doubled the recipe. So I'm going to get the measuring spoons. I don't know if they are.
And then I'm going to add to my wet ingredients mixture a 1/2 cup of, this is canola oil. And then I need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, so I have my wet ingredients mixture. It's not mixed perfectly, but it's mixed enough that I can put it into my dry ingredients.
All right, Rep, how's this going over
It's
here?
going very well. We're almost smooth. It really looks good.
It's gonna taste really good, especially because those are really good chocolate chips.
They're dark chocolate. This is our unicorn cereal, the mascot.
So, Kate, while you do that, I'm going
Yes.
to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
So, when you were younger, did you always want to be in politics, or is that just something you ended up doing?
You know, I was always involved in politics, but I never thought that I would run for office. And then I became involved in people's campaigns and working for them and seeing what you're able to do at the State House and what kind of change, and especially how you can help people. So that really had an influence on me. And when Pat Walrath, who was a former rep, decided to retire, that was the opportunity to do it, and I decided to, and it was a pretty cool experience.
So, it looks like our oven's preheated, but we're not ready to put the cakes in yet, so I'm just going to continue asking our rep a couple questions.
While we smooth.
Yes.
So my batter is kind of thick right now, so I'm going to add half a cup of boiling
I have
water
barely-
so that I can make this batter a lot thinner,
I would say.
so the cake will be
Pretty good.
better.
Do you see how?
Yeah. All right. So, Kate, what exactly do you do at the State House?
There's so many things that you do. It's really the best job in the world. And you get to help people. You get to pass legislation. You get to learn about almost anything under the sun. And you get to write legislation that can help to fix or create things that are really important to our district and the Commonwealth.
That sounds like quite an interesting job. You must like it a lot.
I love it.
Okay, so I have my boiling water here, and I just need a cup of this.
We're good here.
All right, so we can. Kate and I have finished, so we are going to turn it off and just let that cool slightly.
So I have some yellow fondant ready, and I have made some cutouts of a lion face. So I'm gonna have a little lion cake.
That sounds quite interesting. Oh, watch it down there.
So my
Oops.
water is starting to my boiled water is starting to mix with the other mixture they had, and I just need to get some of the like sugar clumps out.
How does it have to
So I'm
be
just gonna
warm
keep
or-
mixing that.
Well, while it's. Is it hot? Probably tastes good.
It does taste good.
All right, so while that's happening, we might want to start mixing our fondant. So
Okay.
Kate and I will be covering our cake with fondant and
But I
then
made
decorating it with icing, courtesy of Nicci, because she made our beautiful fondant here.
For the first time ever.
But I'm worried that this is not going to be enough fondant to cover the cake. So we are going to dye this white fondant blue, which might be a bit tricky because I heard if you touch fondant too much, it gets very sticky and it melts a little bit and it's really hard to work with.
Would you like Nikki's fondant lesson of the week?
Yes, please.
So fondant is made of melted marshmallows and powdered sugar, and there are other ways to make it, but that's the most common way to make fondant. So the more you work with fondant, the more the powdered sugar will kind of come off on our fingers or fall out. And then you're also adding more liquid, which is the food dye. So you will need powdered sugar to kind of make the fondant less sticky as you're working with it.
And do you have any powdered sugar that we could use?
I do. I'm just going to have to ask you not to use it all because I need some. Where did I put it?
It wasn't there.
Oh, it's right here.
All right. So can we just put some flour on the table and then mix it on the table, or do we need to like put it in a bowl?
So, I don't know if you've noticed, but the fondant that you have right now is kind of hard. That's because, once again, it's a marshmallow, so it's kind of hardened. So you need to put it in the microwave to heat it up a little bit.
All right. So while we are doing that, this still needs to cool. So the pan is quite hot, so we're just going to pour it into this mixing bowl so it can cool down a little bit more easily.
Great.
Right. Do you want to grab the spoon or something? Let's grab that out.
Okay, so
For you.
while the
Thanks.
warm water is kind of once again melting this batter, because it's very thin, which it should be, so this is actually nice, I'm going to go get my pan ready.
So why don't we just start with the flour and the
Okay.
cocoa powder, and I guess those two, because they're already pre-measured. And while you're mixing those in, I'm going to measure out our, our vanilla, and our eggs are actually in the fridge. So
So I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on the bottom of my tray so that when it comes to it, I can easily take my cake out of the pan,
all right. So,
if I can rip it. Help.
all right. So we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract since this is doubled. And do you know what teaspoons?
Here are the teaspoon measurements.
I think we're smooth. Might want to check it and see if this is how you want it.
Yeah,
It's
well,
coming
so
together.
we're about to add some more wet ingredients, so this
Yep.
is going to be a little bit more moist.
Okay.
So here's our vanilla, and we need 2 teaspoons of it. All right, so we just put in the vanilla, and so now we need to add the cocoa powder,
Okay.
the baking powder, and
Yep.
our salt.
Okay. What does the baking powder do?
It actually helps the cake rise when
What I
it's
thought.
in the oven.
Yep.
So then it's more light and fluffy, and it's a lot more pleasant to eat.
Ah.
Okay, so I know the parchment paper here isn't perfect, but it's gonna help my cake not stick.
All right. So,
Stealing your butter.
And we want all this cocoa to go.
yes.
Okay.
Now that we have started adding those ingredients, I'm going to get out our eggs. So the normal recipe requires 2 eggs, but since we doubled it, of course, we need 4. So there are
I hope you
right
have better
here.
luck with your eggs than
Okay.
I did.
All right, so Kate and I's batter's looking pretty thick, but I think that once the eggs are mixed in, it'll be the right texture. So hopefully it turns out correctly. And while you're mixing that, Kate, may
Yes.
I ask, do you remember much about baking when you were little?
You know, we were like the family that had all the baking mixes, so we never really did much baking at home, but my grandmother was a magnificent baker, and so I do remember all of the wonderful things that she made, including a plum pudding, which she would never give the recipe to anyone about, and I think that she probably went to her reward without ever telling anyone how she made that plum pudding, but it was the best thing on earth.
Okay, so my batter is fully mixed and it's really thin, which it's supposed to be, so I'm gonna put it in my pan. Okay, so
Alright.
I'm gonna start working with my fondant, and I made this yesterday, so it's a little bit hard, so I'm gonna stick it in the microwave for about 20 seconds.
We are going to be making, again, a heart cake. So we have a square cake and a circle cake. So my first idea was to put the square cake and then cut the circle cake in half so that you have a heart and you put it on either end. And I thought that actually might be a bit big, so we might end up stacking a couple cakes on top of each other, in which case we need to put icing in between the layers. But I feel like we're just gonna figure it out as we go and see what
Okay.
works best. But we will
Kind of like government.
we'll be covering it in blue fondant and then putting some icing flowers. I was thinking possibly pink and white flowers to go with the blue. And so we're gonna start coloring our icing and getting that all started. Here.
Yes.
And Nicci, did you want to kind of teach Kate how to do the fondant while I mix our icing colors?
Excellent.
So do you want to show Kate how to mix
Sure.
and color our fondant?
So,
So did you make this color?
yes.
All right. So do you know how many drops of which food coloring you added?
I think it was 4 drops of blue food coloring.
All right.
So, the first step for this is melting the fondant, because this fondant has not as hard as mine was, but it's still pretty hard. You can
Yep.
feel that.
Okay.
So, where'd you put the microwave bowls? So, I'm just going to stick this in. And I learned with my fondant that you need to put it for more than 20 seconds. That might have been because I have a bigger batch. So, I'm going to put it in for 30 seconds.
So here I'm adding some red food coloring to make a nice pastel pink frosting.
Do you have to do that one? Do you have to roll that one too?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to soften this one a little bit right now because it's still pretty hard, but I don't want to put it back in the microwave. I just kind of want to work it because if I put it back in the microwave, it might become more sticky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just working it a little bit.
So that it's easy to roll?
I actually forgot that we needed to set a timer. So I always tend to do that, but Nicci, did you set a timer for yours?
No.
All right. This is always
So-
something that we tend to do.
Okay, so your fondant is, you can feel it's it's softer and
yep, and
stickier
stickier,
on the
yeah.
top, but right here it's still kind of hard. So I'm going to put it in for another 20 or 10 seconds.
Okay.
So since it's already been in there for a while and it bakes for 10 to 25 minutes, I'm just going to start a timer for 18 minutes and hope that it works. We're just going to have to check it as it gets closer to like 2 minutes left. So hopefully it's going to be okay.
Here's the oven light too. I know so much in there, but that makes the cake.
So our cakes are looking really yummy right now, and it's actually kind of coincidence that we both decided to do chocolate cake.
Who doesn't like chocolate cake?
I'm having some difficulties here. I'm having some difficulties with this spoon because all the frosting's getting stuck in it. So I'm just gonna try to take some out.
So my fondant's kind of hardened again, so I'm going to put it in for another 10 seconds. Ow.
So this is hard to mix in here. It's such a small area.
So we can add some powdered sugar and you can start mixing it with your hands if you want.
Okay,
On the
that would probably be,
Yeah, on the table. So just move all this.
okay.
Get a little powdered sugar, or a lot of powdered sugar on the
Yep.
table.
There you go.
Put some there.
Yep.
And then
Start to work it.
Yep,
Easier,
so-
knead it.
with the powdered sugar,
Mm-hmm.
especially since it's on top, it
Yep.
should like mix with your hands
Okay.
less. So,
So do you want it out on the table?
yep. So there's really no like not messy way to work with fondant. People who make fondant like a lot even make huge messes. So,
So it's messy.
yep. So these 2 drops of fondant don't seem, or not fondant, food coloring don't seem to be doing much. So I'm gonna add another 2 drops.
Okay.
So I've never worked with. I've never worked with fondant before, and I think I made the mistake of thinking that the new fondant that we're coloring would warm up the other blue fondant. It's not really working that way. It's kind of solid.
I keep dropping it. So I am just rolling out my yellow fondant because it's a step I need to make eventually. So just doing that now.
Yes. We should definitely check on our cakes now because.
How is our
Yeah.
18-minute timer
All right.
doing?
Let's actually take these out because the timer is at, oh my god, only a minute left.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so these are probably a bit overcooked. we'll just take them out and put them on the burner. Did you ever set a timer for your cakes, Nicci?
So I did not set a timer for my cake, but my cake is definitely not done yet.
I'm not sure how this is going to work out. I'm just gonna try to use the knife and just kind of like go around the edges a little bit.
Is it still, it's probably still hot though, eh?
Yeah, we might want to let it cool a little bit in the pan before trying to take it out. Hopefully it came out good and it's yummy, but I mean, not much we can do to change anything now. I'm gonna try flipping one of them out.
Where do you need to put it? Right over here?
Yeah, do you want to flip up that rack?
Flip it up.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna try to. Oh no. Okay. Well, that was interesting. I really don't want to try to move this, but I want to try to get the circular cake out of the pan. But I might want to let it cool a little bit longer because I don't want the same thing to happen to this, even though we're going to be cutting it. I mean, whatever.
That looks pretty good.
I'll
I think
just
you can get
try.
away with it.
Yeah, because we have icing. We can glue it together when we stack it, so hopefully it'll turn out all right. All right, here comes our second cake.
Okay. Is that gonna fit on here? Look at that.
Yay! Success!
There.
It smells good. It's making my mouth water. All right, so let's get rolling this fondant.
Okay.
Just gonna spread this out a little bit more. We don't want it to get too thick, right?
No?
All right, so here we go. All right, let's get rolling.
Wow.
We'll take turns with this, but
Okay.
ooh. I guess, did we want to put our cakes in the fridge? Because they do need to cool before we put anything on them, and I'm worried it's going to take too long.
Can we
Is there
put them
any
in the
room in
fridge?
there?
Yes, we could put them in the
All
bottom.
right, so I think we're done rolling it. I'm just gonna
Okay.
try to brush it off a little bit so it's got a nicer look. I'm gonna flip it over. Hold on. Do you want to help me flip?
Yes.
I feel like this is making me nervous.
Yep, don't be nervous. All right, don't
Oh,
pull.
it's sticking.
Yep, let's try from the other end and come in,
Yeah.
maybe.
We might have to.
And maybe some
You
settings. I think we're doing all right though. Okay.
But I think it might actually be easiest to just cut them in heart shapes and stack it up.
Okay.
So it's good that we have two cakes. It's not exactly what I planned, but I think it's going to work out.
Okay.
We just have to
My
hope for
cake
the best
is
here.
More cooked, but it's still pretty liquidy. Huh? Can I use the knife? Yeah, go ahead. So I am going to turn the power up a little bit, or oven temperature.
I'm just gonna score this to see if I can get the correct shape and size. It's a very awkward silence.
Oh, you're making that kind of heart cake? I thought you were gonna do the thing where you cut this in half and then put it on the corners.
I was gonna do that, but it's gonna be too big.
You can like cut this in half.
I actually just had a really good idea. So we can like make different size hearts and then stack it up so it gets smaller. So this can be a smaller one. And we just have to have a place to put this.
Yay!
Demonstration over.
Wild applause.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure my cake is done, so I'm gonna move
I'm just gonna
Carlin's
go on
stuff
ahead
and get my cake out.
Here we go.
There
So
it is.
we have to decide which tip we want for which color.
Okay.
So
It's still too
I feel
warm
like this
to
one would be
frost
better
down,
with
but I don't
pink
even
'cause
care
it's more of
anymore.
like a flower-like.
Here we
one.
go.
Can I? No. Can I please add a tip? No.
Alright, so Kate is going to make a mini cake before she has to go.
Mini cake.
So we're just going to put some
Because you
icing
see,
on it.
Kate's an
Icing.
important person, has super important meeting stuff to do, right?
Yes, and you can use the fondant.
And use the fondant.
It's a little thick at one end.
Yep. On it. All right.
And then you can just put a little flour on it.
Yep, we put the flour right on it. Ta-da! How fabulous is that? Fabulous.
Mini cake.
Yay!
All right.
Oh,
Thank you so much
It has
for
been
coming.
my great
I have a
pleasure. It
messy
doesn't
hand.
matter. We both have messy hands. It's been a great pleasure, and I look forward to maybe coming on the show again. I will try to remember other recipes from childhood, but they all seem to be packaged mixes. I know there was one that was a pineapple upside down cake that my mother would make, and she'd make it in a spider pan. Do you know the big black pans? She'd put batter in, and then she'd put pineapples on top. Put it in. It's really good. That I remember. So, but thank you. I've had a lot of fun this morning.
When we are looking for another guest, we will let you know.
All right, fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye now.
Good luck with your bill.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so while she's gone, me and Carlin are going to finish our cakes.
Oh, it tastes so good.
So cute.
Stop eating it.
They are not
All right.
nervous up there at all.
So,
So
Okay, so I have kind of carved my cake into a better shape. I'm going to flip it over and level the top if it's not glued to the bottom of this.
so I'm just going to put some frosting in here just to kind of glue them down.
Okay, so maybe I won't carve the top today. I'm just going to put my stuff on Carlin's rack. I'm going to put this back in the fridge to continue cooling.
This might get a bit messy here. I'm just going to try to do this one next. So, this is not how I really imagined it coming out, but I mean, you just got to roll with the punches and do what you can do.
My cake is still warm, but I'm going to make the bold decision of icing it anyway because it's just taking forever. And I'm not very patient, so. So I have my frosting.
I realized that my cake looks a lot better from the top than it does from the side.
I'm going to go get my fondant.
Ta-da!
Okay, so I have my fondant, and this is the better side, so I'm just going to slide. I'm going to use a little bit of the frosting to kind of glue the face onto the... Okay, I'm done.
Who wants to come have a slice of cake?
Yeah.
In conclusion, we made a huge mess,
But it's a tasty mess.
so it's all good. My cake did not come out as I expected it to. It tastes the same way that I thought it would, but it was kind of crumbly, and as you can see, and when I cut it, it didn't exactly work out the way I wanted it to, so it's a little dented, but overall I think it came out fairly well, just not the way I expected.
I'm actually surprised at how well mine came out. The biggest problem I ran into was it was not cooking very fast, so that took a little while. But I think with the fondant and everything, it all came out well.
All right,
So-
so does anyone want to taste
I
these?
love how it went from messy to beautiful, back to messy. Huh?
Nikki, we can share this this plate.
Okay,
Get another fork.
I have a fork.
Well, ladies, we know you used really good ingredients, so it's gotta taste good, right?
Very good.
Very different textures.
How many am I trying?
I believe so.
I like mine.
Well done.
I'm sorry, I cannot pick it. How?
I like the texture of
This
yours.
this is all fondant, Carlin.
I like the texture of yours. I like the taste
I
of
think you need a
mine.
knife for fondant.
I like the taste of yours. I can't actually tell. I haven't even eaten yours yet because it's all fondant. Help.
Fondant is
Look
nice
at that.
and chewy.
Keep that. Eat that. Here, I'll help you. There you go.
Chewy
Makes
sugar.
me think of wedding cake.
I like Carlin's. It's just at some pieces, it's like harder than others.
Yeah, because the square cake got was
More dry.
thin, so it cooked.
Yours is much more moist, Nikki. I like the flavor and moisture of your cake.
I like this cake. Oh
It's
no,
still warm. I like that.
Yeah, that helps too.
That's nice.
that wasn't meant to happen.
chocolate flavor and caramel. It's rich, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
I know. I'm not.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little trouble cleaning this one
Oh
up.
my gosh.
I'm not a huge
Might
chocolate
hear about
fan.
this later.
Thank you for watching this episode of Better Batter Baking.
I hope you enjoyed and come back next time.
Special thanks to Kate Hogan. Bye.
So this is a half a cup. So we
Okay,
need two
so we need
of
two
those.
of those.
All right, so we're gonna add that stick of butter.
Ah!
And one more.
Help.
Nikki!
What's happened?
My egg died.
Kate Hogan is the Massachusetts State Representative for the 3rd What?
You need to say. Help.
Got it. There you go. Thank you. Is someone from the audience speaking?
Okay.
Alcohol 21 and other things 21. So,
Broke.
oh dear.
So this is actually a
Carlin?
really...
Microphone.
Thank you.